G'day everyone, welcome to Poker Pulse Podcast, Episode 5. Brought to you by the Australian Poker Schedule, of course. I'm Craig Abernethy, and once again I'm joined by the wonderful co-host, poker dealer and player, Catherine Young. How are you, Catherine?
Hey Craig, hey everyone, I've been good. It's great to be back here and doing another podcast episode.
And you've been dealing at the Sydney Millions, is that right, Catherine?
Yeah, just finished up at the King Sydney Millions. It was great. The prize pools were massive. The main event was even bigger than last year. The top three did an ICM deal and all in the six figures. So huge win for all of those.
Yeah, who was the winner, do you remember?
Yeah, Khan Lee. And then we had Martin Finger and we had Chad.
Yeah, actually I thought I saw Chad up there and Martin Finger.
Yeah.
And I actually saw Martin Finger, he made the final table for a 10K online as well.
He came fourth, I think. Yeah.
Did he? On the GG 10K online. Wow. So he had a big week as well. So well done to him. And we've obviously got Troy here as well, our resident poker pro.
How you doing?
Good. And you're back now from the Asian poker campaign and holiday you went on and donation.
I am. I'm back in Australia for a little bit.
You found a place for your new trophy, your PokerStars Spade trophy?
No, not yet. Got to find some room somewhere, but it'll happen some point.
Yeah, back in country Victoria.
Yep.
Ballarat.
Truca now.
Echuca. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Just up the road. So, so it's been a good few weeks. We obviously try and do the podcast every couple of weeks. We've been a bit busy this time, and we've been very lucky to have special guest on the show, and I'll introduce him now. The one and only Shurane Vijayaram.
Woo! Hey, everybody.
Hey, Shurane.
So, Shurane, do you want to start by just telling us a bit about you, where you are at the moment, where you're staying, what's going on? Anything happening?
Yes, so I'm in my unit in Blackburn in Melbourne. I've got a small hobby farm at Apollo Bay, which is on the Great Ocean Road. I work for myself doing landscaping when I'm not playing poker, and also do some work at the hobby farm where I run some beef cattle and some sheep and some alpacas.
Really? Well, it's great to have you on the show. It's good that you found time to fit us in amongst your busy farming schedule. Anything else been happening, like the landscaping? Anything happened there lately? Anything of interest?
Yeah. So I managed to cut my little finger about a week ago on a hedge trimmer. I was very lucky. Yeah. It's all right. It wasn't that bad.
That sounds horrible.
I've seen the photo.
Yeah, not that bad is relative apparently.
Sounds horrible. I'm shocked. So
yeah, there was a bit of claret coming out. I had to drive myself to the hospital, but I got surgery on it last week, and it's it's looking good. I'm going to start working again tomorrow, so I'll get straight back into it.
And you didn't lose any fingernails, or there's no long-lasting injury?
No, I mean I went straight through the nail actually, so they glued it up on the other side, and it's a bit okay. I saw an occupational therapist today, so I've got some finger exercises to do.
What did you say you did it on? What was the tool?
A hedge trimmer.
A hedge trimmer?
I try to stay 10-15 minutes, and it literally cost me a week now.
That's all right. So that sounds pretty scary, but I'm glad you're all right. And you also like your fishing. Have you been fishing lately?
I was there at Apollo Bay on the Cup weekend with another poker player and his family and kids. And we did some fishing down there. We caught heaps of fish, but nothing big, nothing to write home about. The kids loved it, though. The kids had a ball. If you catch anything, they love it. So
you weren't fishing in a boat. You were just fishing off the banks?
That's right. I was just fishing in the harbour.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, we were catching trevally. I think that was it. We caught about 20 or 30 trevally, but they were all small ones.
And so, Shurane, you love catching plenty of fish. You also love to go down to the local pubs and satellite into the bigger games through your local APL. And, yeah, you love that sort of thing. Not too many Aussie Millions players still jump in the pub poker scene to win their way in. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I still play pub poker. That's probably the majority of the poker that I play nowadays, apart from the major series. And I often cop a bit of flack for it from my friends for playing pub poker.
Where's your local game?
there's a few. So I play one in Heidelberg at the Barclay Hotel. It's WPP League. And then I play one around the corner at Chase, which is APL. And then also one at Doncaster Hotel, which is...
What's the buy-in for that start at?
Oh, they're pretty... The smallest buy-in I play is about $35.
Yeah.
And then the biggest I play is about $200 for pub poker.
Okay.
Doing it for the love of the game.
Yeah, I love it, and it also gives me a good opportunity to implement new strategies. So strategies which I learned during the week, I'll implement at pub poker, and it's actually a really good way to experiment to not only just to implement, but just to see how people react to different things, different strategies, different sizings, and it gives me an opportunity to fine tune certain aspects of my game before I start playing a Jack Star or a 2K or a 2.5 somewhere. A good example would be an overbets strategy. So using overbets on turns and rivers, and then seeing which opponents they work best against. So that would be one example. Also using a small ball strategy. So using a lot of small clicks. So in people like 3-bet sizings and 4-bet sizings, using smaller sizes, and experimenting against which opponents they work better against and which opponents they don't work as well against.
So what you're saying is you're a thinking sort of player. You're not sort of doing stuff by the book. You're sort of looking at how people play, and you're just trying to work out your own strategy to best play against them. And
yeah, that's right. Well, to be fair, pub poker, you don't make the most money by playing GTO. You make the most money playing exploitatively, and that applies at different levels, but more so at pub poker, because most people that play pub poker do not play or don't even understand GTO fundamentals very well. But that doesn't mean you can't apply the same strategies which I apply at pub poker. It doesn't mean I can't apply them at a bigger buy-in. It just means I just have to make a bit of tailoring and make things a little bit different. But the exploitative strategy still applies. And that's understanding how certain players are deficient in certain areas of the of GTO, and then exploiting their weaknesses.
And that will come in handy too, because when you play you're playing big main event fields. Obviously, the Aussie Millions was a huge main event field, and you've got a whole raft of different types of players in a huge field like that. And then you can satellite into, even if you're playing a $1,500 Jackstar event, which you've done quite well in. Again, you're playing like a whole raft of different players. So it's important that you have different strategies to play against different opponents you come across in those huge fields.
Definitely.
Well, I just love that idea of, well, obviously in pub poker you do have that room to experiment because it isn't a $1,500 Jackstar; it's a nice low buy-in. And do you find like sometimes when it doesn't work, it means that you've got to like restart and go back to your initial drawing board, or do you just rebuy and try again? Or like what do you do in terms of that when you're at the pub poker scene and things aren't working the way that you thought they would, and how do you adapt?
Yeah, it's a really good question, Catherine. Just because something doesn't work the first time doesn't mean it doesn't work. It's got to do with the law of sample sizes, and you can make the correct play and still lose. That's the good and bad thing about poker. So you can make a correct play for months and still lose. And in poker, you can make an incorrect play and still win over a relatively small sample size. But if you know that that's a winning play, it's a plus EV play, the law of averages will mean that you will win in the long run. So I don't get disheartened if I try something new, which the first few times might not work, because potentially it could be because I'm choosing the wrong opponent to that play. So potentially I can be choosing the wrong opponent, and sometimes the cards don't fall your way. So you make a correct play that is winning you, so many big blinds in the long run, but in the short term you can lose a few hands, which can become quite disheartening. The more you play poker, you realize that you don't get too, you don't cry over a bit of spilt milk, because in the long run you are going to win making that play.
Yeah, well, you got to also, in poker, like you're going to make mistakes in any game. You're going to make mistakes, and you got to sort of get comfortable with that. There's no need to be embarrassed or anything. Like, Poker too. Like a lot of it's about having a good time and having fun and meeting new people. And which pub did you say you're going to go to next? What's your next game?
It's in Sunshine.
Sunshine. What pub?
It's called West End Hotel.
Okay, so there you go. So any of the Shurane's fans, you want to get down there and play with the former Aussie Millions main event champion, Shurane, get down to the West End at Sunshine.
Yeah. But for this particular satellite series, it's very plus EV. It's a good group of guys down there playing poker, so everyone has fun. I'm one of the youngest people in that field, surprisingly. I'm 41, and I think there are like 5 people younger than me.
Coming from the guy who was able to play the Masters event at this year's APO.
That's true. Yeah. The youngest Masters winner in Australia. That's correct.
Yeah.
What have you done since your big win at the Aussie Millions? You've won You've won probably about 5 or 6 trophies. I noticed you went from winning the main event at the Aussie Millions in 2017, and there was how many entries in that? Would you say?
I think the 720 odd.
720. Yeah. Okay. 725, I think, and you took that down for 1.6, and then you went over to I saw one on your Hendon Mob results. You actually went to Tokemwal and took out their main event for $3,000. You beat 57 players there.
Yeah, I think Troy was one of them as well. Actually,
was he?
Yeah, I was rooming with him. That series, so it's very proud to say I beat Troy, who's a crusher now. So I can always bring that up when I need to.
Yeah, and I saw you winning. You took down the super high roller at the battle in the Barossa.
Yeah.
The winery there. Is it a winery?
That's right. I was 2 bottles of wine deep when we were heads up. So that was quite impressive. It was free wine, so I don't normally drink when I play, but when there's free wine at a good winery, it would be rude to say no.
Taking one out of the book from Daniel Nielsen, who seems to always be doing well while he's got a drink in hand. So
yeah,
nice.
Look, a lot of people do it. A lot of people do it, and for our fans that are watching the show and they're not sure what we're talking about, the Barossa Valley is famous wine country in Australia and South Australia, and they have quite a prominent poker series that travels around the wineries and players called Southern Poker Tour. They just had one recently, and that was quite successful as well. I did have that on my website as well. So make sure you follow Southern Poker Tour on Facebook and check them out. They have some great little games down there. They're not the biggest prize pools and that, but geez, they are a very social bunch, and it's just a really good trip sort of atmosphere. It's like a destination series, I'd say. So definitely worth checking those ones out if you get the chance. As I said, Shurane, you had some success there.
Yeah, I enjoy playing the SPT series. So something which I don't think a lot of poker players talk about is most poker players talk about the EV of playing a series, as in how much money you can win. For me, there's the EV of the series and there's life EV as well. So that's what you can do off the table, not while you're just sitting there. Because I like to do stuff off the table, whether that's good restaurants or fishing or sightseeing. And SPT has very good life EV apart from the poker. Their prize pools aren't the biggest, admittedly, but there's a lot of things. A lot of the locations they choose to host their series have a lot of things you can do off the table, and that's what I measure. I measure the value of that often before I go to a series, and that means a lot to me, almost as much as the prize pools, because I mean, poker's good. Don't get me wrong, I love playing poker, but when I'm not playing, I want to do something else. I don't play pokies or whatever, so I like to do other stuff, whether that's going to a nice restaurant or like checking out some sites or going to the beach. That's very important for me as well.
I honestly couldn't agree with you more. I really love that. Like, I've never actually, admittedly, been to an SPT tour. I haven't gone down to South Australia for any of those, but one example that I can think of is Townsville. Like, I always rant and rave about Townsville and going to the Ville, and lots of players say, those prize pools aren't big. I see lots of the Centurions don't get enough, like, runners for their idea of, like, a good enough field. And I just think about the fact that, like, everyone enjoys Townsville for what Townsville is. And if you're not playing poker, then what are you doing? You should be exploring the place you've gone to. You've just flown to a destination. You should be enjoying that. So I really love to hear that someone else is of that same mindset, where you're not just thinking about the poker, but you're also enjoying your time off the table.
Yeah, and South Australia is really well known, particularly the regional areas like the Barossa Valley and even around the coast. They're famous for their cheese and their wine and their just fresh produce. I know there's a place there called Coffin Bay. It's famous for the oysters and fresh seafood. So, yeah, some really nice places all around Australia. But, yeah, that's definitely one place that's underrated. And as you said, Shurane, you get down there and plenty to do outside of poker. I was thinking we might have a look at this famous hand you play, the heads-up play against Ben Heath. Might just play that hand just the last couple of minutes. It goes for a while, but just want to sort of have a look at this hand where you're thinking through.
Vijayaram hasn't released his hand yet. He's chopping out the call. That's 2.5 million. That's 3.2 million. That's the call. He's got it right there. If he pushes those chips forward, it's over. Can he somehow make this call? If he finds a call here, this would be the sickest call I think I've ever seen. $600,000. The difference between first and second place. There has been no deal. Vijayaram trying to figure this out here, but this would just be absurd. Can Vijayaram find the call here? Our satellite qualifier in for $135, playing for 600 grand in front of one of the largest live stream audiences for poker in Twitch history.
What can you have? You got to bust the draw here. Feels like a bust.
He's figured it out. He can only really beat a busted draw. Hearts are straight. And no matter whether he calls or not, Vijayaram's instincts this hand has been amazing. Props to Ben Heath's poker face. He is showing nothing. Can Vijayaram find the call here on the river for all the money? This is intense. He's replaying the hand again. He raised, got called. Check called flop. Check raise turn from Heath. And then Heath shoved the river. He calls! It's all over! Holy moly, he wins the tournament! That's it! It's over! Wow, wow, wow! All that money going to Vijayaram. That is the run it up dream right there. $135 into $1.6 million.
Yeah, it's a tough one. On the river, I put him on King 8 or Queen 8. And I actually thought he might have King 8 or Queen 8 of hearts. And obviously King 8 beats me, but Queen 8 doesn't. So I was umming and ahhing if he has King 8 or Queen 8. In the video, you can actually see, I actually mouth out that King 8, Queen 8. Yeah, and I really went over the hand and replayed it in my head a few times. I was mumbling about different things about what I was thinking about. And I think when I made that final table, I was quite aware of my image from the previous day where I hero called Kura Aldemir with a pair when he had a flush. It was a 4-liner for the flush, and I hero called him with like third pair or something. So I was actually quite aware of my image that I was perceived as a bit of a laggy fish wreck. And so when I played the start of the final table, I made a conscious decision not to play fairly tight because I was aware that my opponents wouldn't try to bluff me, knowing that I can be a bit stationary. And that pretty much, I had that sort of, I kept that strategy pretty much the whole tournament. And then I think in the last maybe 20 minutes, half an hour of heads up, Ben could see that I wasn't playing that strategy and that I was probably playing overly tight heads up. And I think that factored into his decision making to try and bluff me in that final hand. So in 2017, I was predominantly an exploitative player. my understanding of GTO was a fraction of what it is now. And now I've actually, the last few years I've been studying GTO a lot. I've been studying ICM a lot. And now I'm actually going back and working on my exploitative game, understanding, like paying a lot of attention to hands, paying a lot of attention to showdowns. A lot of players underestimate how much information you can get from hands that go to showdown.
The other thing that Jason Somerville says there in commentary is the satellite qualifier is in for $135. How did that come about? Like, you weren't much of a tournament player. You said you just mainly played cash, didn't you?
That's right. I played tournaments a lot online, micro stakes. I used to do pretty well on the $2.20 180 man on stars, and then occasionally I'd shot take and then play like a $10 one, or $10 one, $20 one. And I actually got back into poker through a good friend of mine called Gary Kieran, who I met in September 2016 fishing at a pier. And he convinced me to play a $50 pub game at Doyle's on a Monday. And that was, at the time, that was the best pub game in Melbourne. It was a day game, and it would be about anywhere from like 1,000 to 1,400 for first. Nowadays, the games are much bigger. There's many games which have much bigger prize pools, but at that particular time, it was actually quite a big game, and that invigorated my thirst for tournament poker. So I played that I pretty much played it every Monday for 3 months straight from September until December. And then I'd caught the bug, the tournament poker bug again. Yeah.
Yep.
You went to Crown just randomly and thought you'd jump in a satellite? Is that right? Or
No. Well,
you had a keen. You wanted to play the Aussie Millions main, or
the weekend just before Aussie Millions, I was supposed to drive up to Sydney for a fishing trip. Not Sydney, sorry, New South Wales. I was supposed to drive to New South Wales, and then about on the Thursday before, an engine malfunction light came on in my car, which is really strange because I picked it up from servicing a week before. So I drove to my mechanic and explained what happened, and he goes, your engine's firing on 3 cylinders. You can't drive it further than 20-25 kilometers because it can mess up the firing with the pistons or the cylinders or something. So I literally called my mates on that Thursday and explained to them, and they thought I was joshing. They thought I was full of it. They thought I didn't want to go up, and I was like, no, I really want to go. This car issue thing, I can't go. So I ended up playing. I think it was a Saturday night. I was bored out of my brains. I'm like, what can I do? And I looked on the internet, and there were satellites for Aussie Millions. And I'd previously played, I think, 2 satellites at Crown before that and won one of them for the Poker News Cup. And so I played the satellite on Saturday night, not really expecting to win. First place was a ticket, and second place was 8,000 cash, and third was nothing.
Wow.
So, yeah, a few of the players, or one of the players, Manny Rodriguez, well-known cash reg in Melbourne, he suggested we make a deal so that second would get 4K and then the rest would get 1K each. I think there might have been 7 or 8 players because 2 of the players didn't want to do the deal. There were 2 European, I would say pros or semi-pros, youngish. And then there were 4 of us in on the deal, or 5 of us in on the deal. And then, yeah, I ended up winning it. And then I was heads up against one of the guys that wasn't in on the deal. So pretty much all the people I made the deal with were sweating for me to come second so they could get 1K. Anti-sweating me.
Wild, the butterfly effect there. Like, that is, it's like it was destined from the get-go. Like, that engine, and then bang, you win a satellite. Bang, you're in the Aussie Millions. Bang, you win. Like, what?
Yeah, well, so is that how it went, Shurane? So you won your ticket, and then you're all pumped to jump straight in the. Is that what you wanted to do?
No, I wanted to sell it.
You
wanted to sell it?
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
So what actually happened was when I won the ticket, I didn't have a Crown Club card. I'd cut it up many years ago, and I used to park on Kavanagh Street, which is around the corner from Crown, and walk to Crown to play cash. I just didn't park at Crown. Maurizio Pascuzzi, who's a really nice guy, he's left Crown now, but he still plays poker. He was at AM, and so he takes me to the cage. So I said, can I sell my ticket? And he's like, no, you can't sell your first ticket. Because at that particular time, I would have been considered dead money in a field of that size and a buy-in of that magnitude. because I'd never played. The biggest I'd played before that was a 2.2, which is the Poker News Cup, and failed miserably in that one. So I wanted to sell the ticket, and Maurizio said, no, you can't sell it. So I played it. So I played the last flight and ran really well. None of my bluffs got called until day 3. And that bluff got through. It's a really sick hand. Ended up rivering a 2-outer against a guy that made one of the sickest calls I've ever seen. And yeah, so it was just a crazy good run. And I forever will feel blessed for having that opportunity. When I first played the Aussie Millions in 2017, I had no expectations to win, but I played it for the experience. You know, I knew that I wasn't going to be a favorite in that field. I wanted to just enjoy the experience and everything that comes with it, and then everything else is a bonus.
Yeah.
The night that I won, by then obviously I had a Crown Club card, so I parked in the basement at Crown Casino. The poker room used to be in was the Las Vegas room, so downstairs, and the parking's really expensive there. It's like $50, yeah. So I hadn't parked at Crown in over 10 years, I think it was, and so I parked underground because I knew I had 245K locked up. So I'm a little bit tight. I don't like to spend money needlessly. So the night that I won,
parking with 245K locked
Yeah,
up.
maybe it can be in the budget.
I can splurge $50, yeah. So I parked, and then after I won, I had my ticket, and Hayley Breen, who was a VIP host back then, and I think she still works at Crown. I went and saw her. I said, Hayley, can you validate my ticket? And Hayley had her eyes almost popped out of her head. Hayley's like, what? You want me to validate your ticket? You just won 1.6 million. I'm like, yeah, come on, Hayley, please. And she was kind enough to validate it for me, so I actually got the parking for free.
That's good. I would have done the same thing. I admire that. I think it's pretty good. Yeah.
Another funny story. So Crown paid me $5,000 on the night. They said they could pay me, but I didn't need a lot of money, so I got $5,000. I chopped out a few of my rail because they wanted to party and have some drinks, and then I picked up the cash a month later from Crown, and we did a photo op. They gave me some plaques and stuff, which I've got a photo of, and I got a photo with the plaques, like 100K plaques, because I used to be a bit of a degen, so it's a nice picture to have these 100K plaques and stuff. And then I went to the cage, and then they gave me a fat check for 1.595. So I went to my local Blackburn North branch of the CBA, which is where I normally do all my banking. They all know me pretty well there. And so I went there, and I went there 5 minutes, maybe 5 or 10 minutes before close. The doors were shut, but there were people inside. So I go knock on the door, and then the manager's there, and she's like points me. I show her the check, and she like points me around to the ATM. And go, just chuck in the ATM. You can do deposits there. And I don't use checks very often. So I go around to the front to the ATM, and then trying to type in all the amount that I'm putting in, and it just won't take it. There's too many zeros in the check. So then I go around to the back again, to the door, and I explain to her what I just explained to you, and she's like, really? I'm like, and then I show her the check, and then she's like, sir, come in, sir, come in this way, come what? And I was like, oh my god, this is why you don't tell people you have money, because they treat you just so much differently than if they don't think you have money, you know? It's a perfect example.
We became friends, Shurane, and I think I'm going to admit it took 6 months. Like one time I just brought you up in a conversation, and they're like, oh, the Aussie Millions event winner. And I'm like, huh? What? Which one? What does he win? And they're like, he won the Aussie Millions main event. And I'm like, no, Shurane, no. Now, we became friends, and I just, no idea. I thought you were a great poker player, but there you go. So you're the Aussie Millions main event champ, but you became my friend, and I didn't know that.
Well, I'm friends with the Young Guns winner.
Yeah, exactly. I think the level is it's there. We're there.
Definitely close.
Yeah.
So I'm of Indian heritage. So when I was born, my parents got an Indian astrological chart drawn up for me. a lot of Indians, like I was raised as a Hindu, a lot of Indians have this. And so when I was born, my name is linked to the time I was born in the Indian astrological calendar. So when I was born, there were a few things that were predicted. One was that in the 13th year of my life, I would suffer a major upheaval. So when I was really young, when I was like 4 or 5, my parents took me to swimming classes. I was always a fairly strong swimmer because they were worried something like that would happen. And then so when I was 13, my parents divorced, right? So that was predicted when I was born. Another prediction was that in the 30th year of my life, I would come across a major windfall. So when I was 29, I was dating this chick who I'm still friends with now. And I said to her, maybe you're the windfall, because it's very ambiguous what windfall is.
Oh, that's sweet.
And so, I mean, a lot of my close friends know this story. My dad told me when I think I was 22 or 23, and I was very naive at that time. And so when I was 22, 23, I was actually dating a chick whose mum was an astrologer. So I used to give her a bit of crap about astrology and stuff because, again, I was naive and I only knew what I knew. And then, so in the 30th year of my life, going forward now, I was dating this chick, and I said to her, maybe you're the windfall. And during that time, I didn't play any poker at all because poker requires a bit of time and stuff like that. And so I literally played not zero, but very little poker between the ages of 29 and 33, which is when I won the Aussie Millions. And I actually believe that prediction was about Aussie Millions.
Yeah, wow.
Wow.
Yeah, well.
That's too good. That's too good of a story.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's very. In fact, I'd never spoken to my mum about that prediction. And then after I won, I was at a place for lunch, and she had a back turn to me, and I said to her, "Oh, have you got my Indian astrological chart?" And she goes, "Oh, it's because you won, isn't it?" And I had literally never spoken to her about that ever. Like, my dad told me when I was in Malaysia when I was 22, 21 or something, and she knew straight away what I was talking about, which is when she said it's because I won, I literally got goosebumps on my hand, like all up my hand, because I was like, man, this is trippy, man. This is like really trippy.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool story.
I
And
love
you're
that. I love that.
And you're a Hindu, you said.
I was raised as a Hindu, but I
Now you
raised
farm cattle.
beef cattle. That's right. It's like having a Jewish pig farmer. They're
Yeah.
very, very rare.
Gotcha.
That is. How's the cattle going?
The cattle are doing well, very well. I'm going to sell a few at the moment. I've had them for a bit longer than most people. So I'm going to sell off a few and then keep a couple of the really nice ones, the friendly ones. The cattle price is down at the moment.
What sort of cattle is it? Is it good quality cattle, or is it...
Yeah, I've got Black Angus, Red Angus, a couple of Frisian crosses. But cattle price is well down at the moment. Like it's well down. I'm going to sell. I've got sheep as well. I've got Aussie whites, which are really good meat sheep. They're considered the wagyu of sheep.
And Shurane always wears my Australian poker schedule cap when he's playing around in the pub games, and he's got plenty of photos with my APS hat on too. So I appreciate that. One other thing I wanted to ask you about was you almost got scammed, didn't you? Some sports betting scheme.
That's right. I've almost been scammed multiple times. I couldn't count on my hands how many times I've almost been scammed. But I think the one you're alluding to is the MHS, run by the Marley. That's right. That's right. In fact, I tried to get you into it as well.
Yeah. That's how it all came about. Is you come up to the Gold Coast, put you up at my house. You tried to rob me by getting me into this scheme for a bit of commission or something or whatever, and you were just sharing something, your experience with this thing, and you put some money in it. I'm presuming someone signed you up to it as well, and you got in it and parted over some cash, and then next thing you had an account, and you'd get sent some tips every week or whatever, and you sort of followed the tips loosely, and for all purposes it looked like you were winning money. And sports betting, for me, I understand it sort of doesn't work like that, which is sort of why I clicked onto it. So obviously, you can back horses and sport teams and win money, and some people are good enough to be able to do that. This particular business, he was scaling it out to the point where he's signing up, he claimed to have like 1,000 customers or so, didn't he? And
That's right.
that was sort of my first question to you, is how many customers is he going? You said, oh, he's got 1,000. I said, and what? And you've all given him what? Sort of how much do you reckon? And he said, oh, I've given him a couple of grand, but a few people are giving him 5, a few people are giving him 10 grand. And I'm like, wow. So if everyone's giving him, say, on average 5 grand, and there's 1,000 customers, that's $5 million. Like, yeah, I guess. Which means he has to outlay a lot of money to win that sort of money. I knew as like a bit of a sports bettor myself, and someone who sort of does a bit of arbitraging and that sports betting, the biggest problem you have is scaling it up, because as soon as you start winning a little bit, and then you try to multiply it out, you get problems where the bookmakers won't take your bets. So the only way around that is to, split it across multiple accounts. You might have a friend or whatever. And so then I thought, oh, maybe that's how he's doing it. Maybe he's using all your accounts and your details, and he's using your accounts to do it. But he wasn't. He just claimed to be taking all the bet down on his own action and wouldn't explain it. So, I contacted him about it privately several times just to find out. I just wanted to know how he was doing it, whatever, because I thought it was unbelievable. And it turned out, to cut a long story short, yeah, it was a big scam. Not possible. It was a big myth, and that's come to light over the last few years anyway, and not my big involvement. The reason I sort of mainly wanted to be involved in stopping it is because a lot of my friends in the poker industry, they were sort of talking about this, and a lot of them had joined it. So, I wanted to make sure that they didn't get stiff, because I could see what was going to happen here. I could see that, these things, unfortunately, when you go to get your money out a couple of years down the track, all the money's gone. The only way that they're making money is new investors. And once the investors dry up, the money dries up. Look, I understand you got your money back because you listened. It was a couple of years ago now, and you were able to get your money back. But now you're sort of out owing about, we estimate about $5 million in just deposits alone that he has to pay back, let alone the money that he claimed to have won. He was 10xing that. So it adds up to, it's well over $40 million in everyone's accounts it adds up to. So people that thought they had $1 million in their account, or $500,000 in their account, and they were planning on withdrawing it to buy a house, unfortunately, they're not going to get that, because the winning money didn't exist. And the real unfortunate thing is most of these people, in fact, anyone who hasn't got their money out like over a year ago now, or right at the start, if they listened to my posts or whatever, probably aren't going to get their deposits back at all. It's all going in the court. The last couple of times I was up at the Brisbane Supreme Court yesterday, actually, because I wanted to see what he had to say on the witness box, interrogated by the barrister, and all he could provide was, I don't know, and I can't recall, and not off the top of my head, and so he's got no idea about all this stuff. He can't provide any proof that he's got any of that money. So unfortunately, the victims that are left in that scheme, as it worried me initially, most likely, and it's all still alleged at this stage, but like the likelihood that people are going to get their money back out of this, less than 1 in a million, I'd say. Like, just the highly, highly, highly likely, and even the most optimistic and open-minded persons probably come to that conclusion. But anyway, so it was good that you did listen, Shurane, and I did provide you with some useful information, and I haven't achieved as much as you. I didn't on the 1.6 million, but I stopped a guy ripping people off. I don't know. Hopefully, a few $1 million I saved people, but
100%. I'm actually forever in debt for you giving me that advice.
Yeah.
Because as you know, I didn't understand sports betting ecosystem very well then. I used to punt off on table games when I was younger, but never at sports or horses and stuff. So I never understood the ecology and how the system works, and that if you're a massive sharp better that your action will get limited. And Marley's claims that he was a sharp better betting these amounts just doesn't make sense if you understand the ecosystem and how it works. And you know as well as me that I was planning on leaving it in for another year or two and getting a massive lump sum.
As most people did. That's what most people's plan was. People weren't trying to be super greedy about it, you know. I spoke to people and, you know, they said, look, I just want to make 50K, and this guy, the rate this guy's making it, I can put out 5K, and in 1 year I'll have 50K. That's all they weren't. They weren't, you know, trying to be greedy in the sense that they were trying to leave it there for 10 years and make millions. They just, you know, in fact, every account went up beyond anyone's wildest dreams because it was all made up. And so people's plans sort of changed. And when you saw, you're like, as you said, you were trying to make, initially you would have been just happy to make 10 grand, right? And then you would have seen the returns and you're like, holy crap, I can actually buy a house with this. So then you started making other plans, yeah? And that's what happened with many people. So all of a sudden they started dreaming that they had all this money. So you can imagine if you can see that money there in an account and you think that's yours, you start making plans for the future, and then you realise you can't. All your plans and that turn into reality that you're not going to get that, and that's a really hard downfall to take. So pretty cruel, very cruel thing that he's done there.
And I have to say, initially, because I live in Melbourne, I'm not in Queensland, I didn't realise just how much flack Craig copped for exposing Marley, which Craig didn't have to do. It was his own volition because he cares about people. He had nothing to gain, literally nothing to gain by exposing.
No, I didn't have any money in it. I just didn't. And
you did cop a bit of flack from local players, and now everyone has seen exactly what you've done, and I think it's given a lot of people you've gained a lot of respect within the community.
Yeah, that's right. Like, I mean, you know, obviously you didn't do it, go in it for that reason, but no, I just saw he was starting to pop up and sponsor poker events, and that's how he was getting people in. He was actually doing a conference or something on breaks at poker events as well, like starting to spruik the system, and all of a sudden multiple poker players are getting into it, and I thought, Jesus Christ, I've got to do something to stop this. And we created the group, and fortunately I had a couple of good friends as well that are good sports bettors. Oliver Gill, who's another Aussie Millions ring winner, champion, and the 8 gun, I believe he won, and also a teams event. He's going to come on the show in a few weeks, I think. Yeah, he's a very clued-on guy, very smart, plays in the mixed scenes, and a very sharp sports bet. I started talking to him about it, and he's like, yeah, 100%, this is just, we know it's not possible. You know it's not possible. Your instincts are right. And a few other people as well that are really good, smart sports bettors, all agreed. And once I had their confirmation as well, I just went with it and said, no, I've got to shut this down. And it took a few years. Fortunately, still got plenty of people sucked into it, and plenty of people still got ripped off. But hopefully, they stopped a few people.
100%. If you didn't step in when you did, it would have just snowballed and snowballed and snowballed. And a lot more people would have been hurt, and a lot more money would have been lost. Yeah,
100%. As I said at the court yesterday, and there's some victims up there too, and they're just sitting there and listen to him not be able to answer questions. They're just, shaking their heads. And a lot of these victims too initially were people that were upset with me initially because exposing it, because it was like I was, killing their investment. That's how it was perceived initially for people who just didn't know. Anyway, so that's probably not going to be a good story to end on. So we won't end there. Let's end on some good news. There he is. He's back. There he is. All right. Well, while we've got Shaz here, we're going to introduce the new segment we've got, and that is called In the Blender. So in the blender, what we're going to do is we're going to ask some questions. First one to buzz in and tell us the answer. So you get the points. We'll try and do this on the rest of the shows as well. Every guest we get in, we'll see who does best, and they'll be up against Troy and Catherine. So, got a few questions. They are poker related, most of them, and then we'll get into a couple of unrelated questions. Just to see if you've been listening to the show and you're still alive. Who won the Aussie Millions main event in 2017?
It's all over.
Is that your answer? That's just a warm-up question.
Ah, shit.
What's the answer, Shurane?
Mel Judah.
Yeah. All right, next question. Who won the APL Million main event 2024?
Oh,
Yes, Cathy. Who won?
that would have been Amin.
Amin Riazadi, yes.
Yes.
He took it out, $705,000. How many Australians, this is a bit tougher, how many Australians have made the WSOP main event final table? Troy, all right. How many you reckon have made the WSOP main event final table?
3?
3 is incorrect.
Oh,
Penny. You've got to be able to...
Is it just
One?
one?
No, incorrect. No, incorrect.
I know at
You wanna
least. I'll go Troy for 4.
Yeah, 4's the answer, but I guess you want to try and name them, or obviously the most obvious one, the guy who won it.
Linsky, Joe Hasham.
The most recent that got heads up with is
Adrian.
Adrian Attenborough. Yes.
I don't know who the 4th one is.
The 4th one was in 1997.
I've been 5.
There was 312 runners that year. Stu Unger won it. Doyle Brunson finished 16th. Phil Helmuth finished 21st. And the Aussie that finished 3rd.
It's all over.
Jeff Lizandro?
No. It was Mel Judah.
Really?
Mel Judah. Yeah, he made the WSOP final table main event 3rd. It was about 200. No, it might have been 300K, I think, for 3rd that year. First prize, Stu Unger won $1 million. That was a bit of a tough, tricky one, but that was a good question. Who won the State of Origin in 2024?
Oh,
Catherine.
W.A.
WA, yes. And a bonus point. Who won the Pooh?
Oh,
The Pooh is the
that
player
would
of Origin.
be Travis.
Travis Endersby. Okay. Next question. Who won the WPT Australia 2024? It was quite recent.
Troy.
Who?
James Obbs.
James Obbs. Yes, he did. Last poker question before we get on to a couple other ones. In the Australian Poker Hall of Fame, there are 2 New Zealanders. Does anyone want to hazard a guess who they are? Or who one of them is?
It's all over.
Graham Putt, a.k.a.
Graham Putt.
Kiwi G.
Yes. Any guesses for who the second one is? To give you a hint, he's actually in the Young Achievers Hall of Fame. Maybe that'll be the first hint.
It's all over.
Cale Burns.
No. Cale Burns is actually from Geelong, I believe. He's an Aussie. But I'll give you a second clue. He recently played on a TV show with Cale Burns.
It's all over.
Who?
Vincent Huang.
No, not Vincent Huang, but he was on High Stakes Heroes.
Oh, I'm trying to think of everyone on High Stakes Heroes. Oh, God, is it?
New Zealander in the Australian Poker Hall of Fame. Young Achiever.
David Yan. Troy David Yan.
David Yan, yes. Well done, Troy. You got
Okay.
the buzz in, yes. So, and if you want to have any more information on the Australian Poker Hall of Fame and who's in it currently, and hopefully we get it back, it's all in the Australian Poker Schedule. So you go to the Australian Poker Schedule, the main menu under Stats, you can see the everyone in the Australian Poker Hall of Fame. There's dozens of them, but hopefully they bring that back. Who knows? Maybe one of you guys will be in there one day. I don't know.
Fingers crossed.
All right, 3 more questions. These ones don't relate necessarily to poker. They kind of do. We refer to people in poker as fish. Which species of fish includes varieties called diver, sand, and King George?
It's all over.
Jazz, who's your pick? What's your type of species? What species has a diver, a sand, and a King George?
I haven't heard of the diver one, but I would say whiting.
Yes, that's right. The Chinese fish, the whiting. That's right. The good old King George whiting. I was going to make it a multiple choice, but I thought I'd just throw it out there because since you buzzed in anyway. Who won the Melbourne Cup 2024? Which horse? It was a couple of weeks ago.
I know the number.
Kinda.
Oh, I know the number. Does the number count, or does that have to be
No.
the name?
The name.
Ah,
Can you
damn
give
it!
us the first letter?
First net letter, K.
I know the
Tricky
number.
one.
I can't think of it off the top of my head.
Was no guesses?
Number 11, but I don't know the name.
It was 100 to 1.
Yeah, I know that.
Knight's Choice.
Yeah, it's
Knight's Choice, yeah. So no one got that. Who'd you pick in the Melbourne Cup? Anyone have any winners or anything like that? You obviously didn't pick
I
the winner.
picked second place.
Did you? Second?
That hurt.
I had everyone else but the winner.
I picked third place and I put it in a Quinella with the field, so that was annoying. I picked Akita Sushi. And so I did get money back for the place. So I paid it right for the place, but yeah, Quinella was no good. All right, last question. Cathy, I reckon you might know this. Modern cosmetics, they make different lipsticks and eyeshadows, and they add a shimmer to it with a shiny material. What do they use to make that shimmer?
I thought it was bugs.
It's all over.
Fish scales?
Yes.
Oh,
Very good.
I knew it was something gross.
is
I knew
fucking
it was
rigged.
something gross. I was thinking, what is it? It's
What kind of
something
question's
really
that?
gross.
That's about fish, and something about the girls might get. We've got to be diverse. Plenty of different
Fish
people got
scales, you
so-
reckon, in lipsticks? How
Yeah,
long would I know
yeah.
that?
I've read about this.
You know how you see the pretty lipsticks and eyeshadow that sort of shimmers, and I don't think Catherine's wearing any today, or Shaz might be, but no, that was a bit of a fun segment. I don't think I was even counting who won. I think it might have been Shaz. Or
I think I
Catherine.
was equal with Kat.
Yeah.
We might need a playoff.
A playoff?
I could take a playoff.
All right.
Let me think of the random question.
All right. Yeah, that's a good idea. You can think of the random question, Troy.
Just give me a moment. Think of something funny. I can't think of anything. No, I've got nothing. Back to you, Craig. Give me a second. I'll find something.
I'll give you a question if you want.
I've got a good one.
Okay.
How far can a lion's roar be heard from?
Oh!
Yep.
90 kilometers.
No.
I just thought it was going to be something really weird.
All right,
It's all
Kat.
over.
3 kilometers.
No.
Are we in between?
It's more than 3 and less than 90.
That narrows it down.
Okay.
Kinda.
Oh! Let's go with 12.
Last
12
guess.
kilometers.
less than 12?
Oh my god.
All right,
It's
Chad,
all
Chad,
over.
we'll go 7.
What? 8 kilometers.
We need a better question. We haven't get it right.
Shurane wins because he was the closest.
It's all over.
I was just like, it's got to be something crazy, right? So I just went 90.
Well, 8 kilometers is a fucking long way. That's a fair way.
Yeah. Raw.
All right, now that'll wrap it up. So we'll declare Shurane the winner.
It's all over.
No, we look forward to doing that with all of our guests. We'll do the
You
segment.
can't tailor the questions to stuff that he knows about, like fishing.
Right? I was like, okay, this is a bit biased.
Well, I put a question in there. I thought you'd know the answer, Cathy.
I knew it was something gross, but I couldn't think, so then I just said bugs because I was like, it's something weird, I know, but then I couldn't think fish scales. But yeah. That's
There you
gross either way. Both of them are gross. Either
Well,
way.
Cathy's actually part right because they use the bugs, the cochineal, which is the red dye out of a bug for the lipstick and stuff.
Yes! Yes, I knew I was onto something
Like
there.
that. It's very close. It's very close.
Oh, thank you. I feel better
Yeah.
now.
Well, we'll continue that segment with our next guest in a couple of weeks. And who knows who that will be. I've got a few people lined up. Looking forward to that. But did announce that our goal on this show was to increase the growth. Now, I don't think we can necessarily take the credit for it, but just FYI, the all-time money list on Hendon Mob has grown. It was 21,786 last time we did an episode. And now it's 21,887. So, extra 100-odd people. I think mainly due to the fact that APL's been running out and about, and they had a big series at a new venue, so they might have got some new players there. But all around the country, there's been a lot of series recently and people getting their first cashes. Speaking of, we do have a little segment I like to do called Maiden Winners. So I just want to shout out to a few people that got their first trophy over the last couple of weeks. Josephine Ting. Now, she's been winning a lot of events recently at her local Brisbane venue, but she hadn't had an actual trophy yet. She got her first win in the high roller up at the APL series in Brisbane. So congratulations to her. That was $12,000 in the mini high roller. Another first-time winner, Benjamin Thiessen, I want to pronounce his name. He took out the main event at the APL PT up at Brisbane Kedron Wavell. That was $21,000. So congratulations to him on his first win. Another one for the girls, Tanisha Rewu. I don't think I pronounced that right, but I'm not going to even attempt to do it again. But she took out the Monster Stack. That was her first trophy as well. So well done to her, $15K. And then we're going to go down to Kings in Sydney. Someone that I didn't actually realise was his first trophy. He's been playing for a few years now. I think he's a Mike Maddox student, and he does follow Australian poker schedule. And I have met him. He's a nice chap when I've met him too. I think I played him in Albury and a few other places. That's Dom Baxter. You might have dealt to Dom, Cathy,
That was his
down in
first
Sydney.
trophy?
Yeah, I checked his Hendon Mob, and it was. He's had a lot of final tables.
Yeah,
and things,
a lot.
So that was his first trophy.
Well
I'm sure he
done,
has
Bax.
had some other wins in, the Sydney Weeklies and whatever there. But nice trophy too that Kings provide.
Yeah, beautiful.
Just wanted to shout out to some of those first-time winners. Also wanted to say that we've got some patches on the way. I'll show that up there. Got some more patches. So I'm going to send those over to you, Catherine, because you are off to the Bahamas.
Yeah, 3 weeks is going to be absolutely amazing. I cannot wait. My partner's actually going to be over there. He's going to be playing the 25K. And I'm just going to be there celebrity hunting. If I could find any poker, I'll just be a little fangirl. And if I can bump into someone and find them to have even just 30 seconds on camera, that would be insane. So I will be in the Bahamas filming lots of content. I cannot wait for this.
Yeah, that's going to be the WSOP in Paradise.
Yes.
That'll be a
Poker
pretty
Paradise.
cool event. You been over there, Shurane?
Not yet.
I've been over to the WSOP in Vegas. I was over there 1 year, and we just shouted me dinner at a nice restaurant.
Nice is embellishing it a little bit, but it was good food.
Yeah. Ellis Island, which is a side hotel, bit of a dark alley there, but it was a nice steak. And then we've got a few series coming up, of course.
WPTL Tweed Heads.
That's right. You're heading up to the WPT League event at Seagulls. Is that right?
Yeah.
That starts next week, I believe, 20th of November. That's the WPT League that Mitch Catton runs. This time it's at Seagulls. He went to the Turf Club last time. He's back at Seagulls this time. He's sharing it around. So some people do love it down at Seagulls. Some people prefer the Turf Club. I like Seagulls. That was where I won my first trophy, actually. Yeah, I've got a special place for me. Then we head off to the Sydney, Rudy Hill, for the APL PT Sydney. That's at West HQ. That's a huge venue as well. So that'll be some big guarantees there as well. I think a couple of 100K guaranteed events, the Jack Star and the main event. Then there's the Kings have the Kings Cup down at Sydney. Catherine, you know a bit about that. Where's that one at?
Yeah, that one's at Churchill's. That's a really good one because they have amazing structured events and it's all in the lower buy-in range. Definitely one I played last time actually and did really well in the mini main. But yeah, everything's like under $500. Still amazing structures and just really well run by Kings there.
And they're mostly dealer dealt too, yeah.
Yeah, it's a dealer dealt series.
That's at the Churchill Sports Bar in Kingsford, near the airport there. Not too far. Then the SA Poker, they have the South Australian Super Series. They've got 100K guaranteed to the winner, I think it says. 2K main event entry. They're guaranteeing 100K for first. That's hosted by Matchroom Poker. Shout out to Fred and the guys at Matchroom. I hope that's a big series for you. All our South Australians will be keen to go there. And then we've got the Crown Poker Series, December 2nd to December 8th. Troy, you might be heading to that, Shurane?
I might go if I'm not overseas.
Yeah, I think they've got probably half a dozen or so events there. They're getting bigger and better. They're starting to run some really good tournaments there. So outside that, the biggest events next year, obviously, we did announce the Aussie Millions starting up again next year. That's going to be at the start of April now, I believe, Troy. Do you want to confirm the buy-in for that?
It's confirmed as a 10K buy-in. I'm not too sure on the dates, but it's sometime in April. I think it'll be early April, but it'll all get released next week.
Yeah, I thought that I heard by the grapevine it's going to be before the Australian Poker Open.
Yeah.
You got any plans to go to that one next year, Shaz?
I hope so.
Yeah. Probably
Hope so,
satellite
at
in.
least. Yeah, hopefully satellite in. Really looking forward to it. And all the camaraderie that comes as well with a lot of the international pros that come down that haven't been here since 2020. So it'll be good.
It'd be good if they could bring the Hall of Fame back too. And because there's probably a lot of people that I reckon are, earned their spot in that Hall of Fame now, or elevated from a young achiever to an absolute crusher. We'll see how that goes. So we'll wrap up the show there. Don't forget, we are on YouTube. Obviously, we're on Spotify, we're on Apple, and we're on Amazon Music as well. So you can download, subscribe to us all there. Make sure you like the video. We have plenty of people watching. It'd be great if you could all like the video and subscribe to it. We're also on social media. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. So Cathy and Troy have got access to that now. So they've showed me how to do the Insta stuff. They're the Gen Zs. I'm a little bit older, so I do more of the Facebook stuff and that. But yeah, make sure you like us on that. We'll try and get some more content out there. And other than that, we will see you next time.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Shurane. Thanks for
Thanks,
coming.
everyone. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.
Cheers.